Okay, now I think this particular refueling here is when Joe Broker and I, and Roger Jerry Placco, took these two 100s, F100Fs over to Copenhagen. We picked them up out of Sacramento, out of the boneyard. When we started them up, the cockpit filled up with dust out of the piccolo tubes, so we knew they'd been sitting out in the desert for quite a while. And Berger was going to go with us originally, and when he took off, he couldn't come out of afterburner. It stayed on, so he had to come almost back to idle. So we had to dump fuel back and land at Sacramento. He fixed that and finally took off the next day and got to Denver and came back here and refueled, or came back to Falls, and we had about 19 write-ups in the airplanes. So we stayed here for a week, and then we finally took off and went to Boston, Westfield, by Barnes Field. And the first launch mission got scrubbed because of weather, so we came back home, went back a week later, finally got off the ground, and here we are out over the Atlantic Ocean, desperately needing gas. Otherwise it would be a long swim. Broker is in my back seat taking the pictures for me. See how that basket can move around. There, I got her. Now all we got to do, we had to make, I think, 4 of these hookups going over to Spain. We landed in Torrejon, outside Madrid. I think it took us about 6 hours, I believe, to fly across the Atlantic. Base at Torrejon, we couldn't understand the tower operators very good because they were speaking Spanish half and half English. It was a little hard to understand them, so the 135 driver had been in there quite a few times, so he elected to take us to the runway. So we each jumped on a wing and made a high altitude penetration, teardrop, and the whole works, down through a couple thunderstorms, which was kind of interesting. And when we went into land, Placco had unsafe gear indications, so we had to break out and check his gear over, and then he finally got on the ground okay. There's a little bit of leakage there, but not too bad. 135 had plenty of gas for the two of us. Yeah, the 100 didn't have an autopilot, but with 2 seats and 2 sets of controls, it wasn't too boring going across the ocean long as the guy took his turn driving. Here we landed at Torrejon. This is on the field. It was raining that day and kind of a nasty old place. Broker and Rook walking around. Joe gives the airplane an affectionate kick. Traffic in and out of Madrid there. Military traffic. Ford tri-motor back there, junkers or something. Now we were picking up all the suits, and we sat around there for a week because oil sample didn't look good on Jerry's airplane. There's some F4s taken off. So we had to sit around there a week for somebody to check the oil out. So we did a lot of sightseeing, buying junk. Getting it on the airplane was a real challenge. And we'd do some sightseeing, checking out some castles. I believe this was in the town of Toledo, I think. They had a Greek, or rather a Roman aqueduct that brought water in years past. I believe he's still standing. Then we took off and had to fly up to base outside of Copenhagen called Karup. We could have gone straight across France, but France had some problems with our government. They wouldn't let us, so we had to fly back out over the ocean, go over across England, come back in over through Holland to get to this base. So it was kind of a nuisance, so we had to do some more refueling because it was just too far away. And then we landed, got a hop over here to Copenhagen, just to take some shots of Copenhagen when we were doing some touristing there. We hopped on a little hydrofoil boat, I believe they called it. Little wings come up out of the bottom of this boat that rides up on these wings under the water. Went over to Malmo, Sweden, and to check it out. Spent about 4 days here before we got headed back towards home. There you can see the wing that this boat rides up on. Makes for a real smooth ride. Just like a little airplane, they had seats in there like airplanes, and they had the stewardess come in and ask you what you wanted, and etc., etc. Prices were real high on stuff. Well, of course, we had to take a picture of the mermaid. There, all the tourists in the world do that. The setting is very bleak and sparse. I expected it to be a little fancier, but it's just sitting on a rock out by a bunch of other rocks. There's a crawling Japanese tourist. Then we talked the gal into giving us a return ticket to run us to England, so we stayed over at the Columbia House over in London for a couple days. And Hyde Park is across the street there, but we never did make it over there. Typical Englishman.